Hey guys, Martin here, bringing on Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video, and so today we are going to talk a little bit about Super Battle Road, an event that has been around for quite some time now, quite a few years in fact. The original release date you can see here on JP was October 2017, when the first stages versus the monotypings came out, and then February 2018. This was a great mode. This is obviously like... Back in the day, if you were playing the game when this came out, this was by far the hardest mode in the game. Even seasoned like YouTubers like Rhyme and other people that were around at the time streaming and stuff like that would get absolutely destroyed by these stages, because Dokkan events were kind of the hardest thing in the game at the time. I don't know if events had already started to have a lot of bosses that were being immune to sealing or stunning or anything like that, but this like mode completely changed the way you had to think about your team building and everything going into it, and units that were very good at tanking, units that could stun, units that could seal, units that could attack lower, became very useful. Even for like super tech and super int, there were strategies of running like the Chaozu and Jacko that you could run in the World Tournament, so you'd get like a free turn of stunning all the enemies. It was a fun time, and obviously Super Battle Road, you guys know if you've been around the channel for any amount of time, Super Battle Road is a very special event for me personally, because I really enjoyed it. It was one of the first things I got into doing, attempting to do no item runs just kind of for fun, for the extra challenge. And obviously it started off the whole Super Battle Road King persona and rivalry with Truth. Not to go off on a huge tangent about that, but for those of you who don't know, I think it was just like Extreme STR or something. I just randomly did a video. I don't know if it was when Janemba was out. I can't remember who'd come out, but I randomly did a video doing a no items run on it just as something fun to do for the day. And that was back in the day when Truth was always referring to himself as the LR King, because he was one of the only YouTubers at the time that had like every LR in the game and everything. So I tweeted at him saying, hey, you know, if you're going to be the LR King, how about I could be the Super Battle Road King? And it was just one of those things, like, make a tweet, throw it out there, see if he sees it, maybe retweets it, maybe get some more views on the video. And then I got a bunch of messages like the next day from people saying that he had mentioned me in his latest video, where he went ahead and did a no items run and was basically saying, you know, if Super Battle Road King is going to be a thing, then he wants to be that as well. And then that started off our little rivalry, both posting no item runs, like memeing on each other on Twitter and stuff like that. And it went from there, and it was a lot of fun. It obviously helped my channel grow quite a lot. And yeah, some of those old school ones, movie bosses is one that sticks out to me especially, because Global didn't have like STR TUR cooler yet. And the global movie bosses no items run took me like 3 days of recording like 3 separate like 3-hour sessions. Like it took me hours to be able to beat that stage with no items with like double AGL Turles leads. And this is back before the Easy A's or anything, right? So this mode has always, I think, been super fun. The fact that you can use all the status effects, it's multiple separate fights. So obviously you can't just have characters that build up like crazy and then by the time you get to the end are super powerful, both offensively and defensively, because everything resets between each fight. Now, the biggest problem with Super Battle Road, and we've talked about this in the last couple of runs that I've done, is that it feels like the overall power creep for like the game, Super Battle Road hasn't really kept up with that level. So you will see a lot of the time, like I still put out the no item run videos, because I still want to have, just like I said back in the day when, you know, the whole thing was still hot and those videos were getting tons of views. Like the whole point was to have a playlist with every single stage beaten with no items. So even though nowadays those videos don't do as well, I still do them, because I still want my playlist to be up to date with every single stage beaten with no items. So they're all in one place on YouTube. My channel is the only one on YouTube, as far as I know, still to this day, that has every stage beaten with no items, with no app resets mid-run. So it's, you know, kind of cool to keep that up, even if the videos don't do the best. But we've spoken about in those recent videos, with this power creep that the overall game has had, Super Battle Road hasn't really kept up. And if you go into these newer stages, like the most recent ones that we've got, and now that we're synced, we're kind of getting them all at the same time. So like Power Beyond Super Saiyan was the last stage, stage 88. And obviously that is a very powerful category. Battle of Fate was 87. That's another strong category. Worldwide Chaos 86. Like, these stages don't really seem to have been designed to have kept up with the level of like 200% teams and some of the units that are in the game now. So as opposed to back in the day where, you know, it might take you a whole turn to potentially kill like one of the enemies if you're lucky, or maybe you had have to strategically spread out like the enemy who was attacking the most, you'd get one of your units to stun them, and then you'd get your other units to attack one of the other enemies, but even between the two of them you wouldn't be able to kill them in one turn. Whereas now we're jumping into these stages with 200% teams, and like almost everyone on that first rotation is pretty much just one-shotting one of the enemies, and then you just win. And the only way you really have to worry about losing is if you get immediately super attacked in slot 1 and the unit that you've got in slot 1 isn't a particularly good tank. And obviously when it comes to, you know, no item runs is something that I just did for fun, just for challenge, just for videos. But Super Battle Road is the only event now in the game. I guess, would we even qualify it as end game content anymore? I was going to say it's like the only end game event, but I'm not sure. But it's the only event that's like of a slightly higher challenge difficulty where you can bring 4 different items. So not only are units getting way more powerful nowadays anyway, to the point where they make the stage look very, very easy, but if you don't care about doing no item runs and stuff like that, you just want to get the stage beaten straight away when it comes out so you can get the stones and the rewards. Literally, you know, throwing out a Whis on turn 1, then you get into the second fight, you throw out like an Icarus or something turn 1, or a Ghost Usher, and then for the last fight you've still got a Whis or a Ghost Usher, and then chances are you've already set yourself up in that first turn that you either win in one turn, or you get to the second turn, you've still got the Whis active, or you've used a Ghost Usher but you've stunned one of the enemies that's still alive, and it just puts you in a really good spot, and it makes it very easy to win when you have 8 items available. Now obviously power level differs between everybody's box. You might not have all the best units for the particular categories, and that will make it a little bit difficult, but even with weaker teams, having 8 items is definitely a huge advantage. And with free-to-play characters, a lot of them now getting these abilities like sealing and attack lowering and stuff like that, even a team that is built up with a few free-to-play characters, with those items at your disposal, the stages are not super difficult. So the whole point of the video is to talk about this mode and what will the future hold for Super Battle Road, because we're obviously getting all the category stages now. As I say, the last stage that was released was 88, which is Power Beyond Super Saiyan. Now I brought up the list of all the categories and I wrote these all down and then went through the list of Super Battle Road and deleted all the ones that we have the stages for, because we've actually skipped out a few along the way. I don't know how correct this is. This is the wiki list of the categories, and it's supposed to be in chronological order of how they released. But I know for a fact, like if we go down to the bottom, the wiki hasn't been updated a huge amount recently, and obviously like Demonic Power came out after Uncontrollable Power, so those should be the other way around. So I'm not really sure if the list is fully up to date here, but if we look here, the 84th category supposedly to release was Power Beyond Super Saiyan. So the next 2 stages that will finish off this set, which is currently giving us the Grandpa Gohan and like Kid Goku support memory. I'm trying to find where it is. Can I see it uncompleted and see what it does? Yeah, it's the Grandpa Gohan and Kid Goku one. It's a red one. Of course, now that I've clicked on it, it's taking ages to load, so I can see what it does. We need 2 more stages to get the last couple of pieces to have that active, and it's Other World Warriors or Time Limit Allies, attack and defense 10% in battle. And then we'll move on to the next set, where there will be, obviously, I guess, another support memory, because that's what they've been doing as the rewards. So if Power Beyond Super Saiyan was stage 88, then we would assume, because if you go back, the last couple have been Battle of Fate, Worldwide Chaos. So Fused Fighters will potentially be the next Super Battle Road stage that releases, which of course, with fusions being as crazy powerful as they are, with as close as we are to the anniversary and potentially getting new fusion characters, this will obviously be super easy. And then Saiyan Saga is kind of an interesting one. We obviously got the buff recently with the full free-to-play team and like the version Z Goku EZA. So this would probably be doable even for newer players, because as I say, with 8 items, that free-to-play team is actually pretty solid anyway. So I think with items especially, even newer players would be able to beat this. And then that would take us up to stage 90. So you can see here, we've still got Bond of Parent and Child, Superheroes, Earthbred Fighters, Power of Wishes, Tournament Participants, Super Bosses, Demonic Power, and Uncontrollable Power. That takes us up to, that's another 8. So that would take us up to stage 98. And of course, you know, we haven't had new categories releasing as much recently, but there is obviously the possibility that we could. I mean, Uncontrollable Power came out during the Worldwide, and Demonic Power came out with Slug. So in the last like third or so of the year, or the last quarter of the year, we got 2 new categories. Super Bosses was with the Anniversary. Tournament Participants was the in Androids, right? But I think on JP, didn't they come out at the end towards, or were they at the beginning of 2024? If they were at the beginning of 2024, then we can say we got 4 categories release in 2024. They might have been at the end. I know they came out at the beginning, early 2024 on global. So chances are we're not going to get a ton of new categories soon. However, one of the things that I did mention already is that as we've gone down the list, they've skipped over a few categories. Because remember, if Power Beyond Super Saiyan was stage 88, but it's the 84th category, the first 10 stages were against the like Super AGL, Super Tech, etc., right? So there's a bunch of categories that are actually missing from the list that, despite these categories being newer, have never gotten Super Battle Road stages. Now, some of them it makes a lot of sense, right? Like one of them is Namekians, which realistically has never really been a team. Even when Physical Piccolo came out and had that as his leader skill, like the category is just very, very small. In terms of free-to-play characters, there's only a couple on here. So I do wonder if maybe that's one of the reasons that they determine whether these categories will get Super Battle Road stages or not, is based on whether it would be possible for someone to build a full free-to-play team. Because in theory, if you're a free-to-play player, obviously, even though you do still get stones from doing the events and missions and all that kind of stuff, and you do still summon, you might not pull any of the summonable Namekian characters. So if there aren't enough free-to-play ones, you couldn't actually make a team to do the Super Battle Road stage anyway. And then even if you could, like if there was exactly 6, that team could potentially be terrible, no synergy. I mean, there's no free-to-play. Well, I guess the free-to-play Lord Slug, actually, and this guy. I was going to say, the free-to-play leaders for this category don't have very high leader skill percentages. It would definitely be very, very tough. But there's also things like, for some reason, Dragon Ball Saga. Like Majin Buu Saga has one, Android/Cell Saga has one, so it's not like they're avoiding doing the Saga categories. But Dragon Ball Saga doesn't have a Super Battle Road stage, and this one is considerably bigger, and there's a lot of free-to-play Dragon Ball Saga characters. So I would definitely expect to see this soon. Like I say, with the categories that we have existing at the moment, they would need another 2 to finish the set of 91 to 100 anyway. Target Goku is one that we don't have, surprisingly. If we go all the way back up to, yeah, it's here. It released quite a while after Androids. I guess Android/Cell Saga is also there. Because I guess the only problem is when you look at the category, like, it is very much like an Androids team. And then there's some other characters on there, of course, as well. But I'm surprised they haven't done this one, considering the size of the category. Especially with, like, the Brolys on there and stuff as well. So Target Goku is one that we could still potentially see at some point in the future. GT Bosses is a stage that does not exist. We have GT Heroes, but we don't have GT Bosses. Obviously, this category is also terrible. In terms of free-to-play characters, I think there's not really that many, right? Like, the Shadow Dragons are a Battlefield LR. Rildo is a free-to-play farmable unit that at least has a GT Bosses lead. This baby is free to play, but obviously isn't very good. Or is it that one or is it that one? Is that one the TUR of the LR? There is the free to play one, either way, who isn't very good. I guess there is the free to play Frieza and Cell. They don't have, do they not have Awakenings? No, they don't have TURs, do they? Because yeah, the Cell and the Frieza are int and physical, and then the free-to-play ones are physical and in, like, reversed, but they don't have TURs. So yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think you can actually make a full free-to-play GT Bosses team, which is probably the reason why that doesn't exist. And then, of course, you know, good old Heroes. Now, Heroes, there technically are enough free-to-play characters, and some of the free-to-play characters do have the Heroes leads. And I mean, these characters, some of these free-to-play units like Lags, The newest one of the newer ones, obviously, who the EZA recently with the last hero celebration is Toa, Kumba. A lot of these characters have like ceiling and attack lowering and stuff like that. So even though the full free-to-play heroes team wouldn't necessarily be the craziest team, you could probably beat a Super Battle Road level stage with items. So heroes, it's interesting to me that they never did during the heroes celebration the Heroes Super Battle Road stage. Because obviously if you never summon on the banners, you're never going to have any of the characters, because that's the only time you could get them. But you could obviously get all of the free-to-play characters. So I always wondered why they never did a stage. And then same for Crossover, because Crossover is Heroes plus a bunch of other stuff. So you've got like the Fusions cards, the free-to-play like Fusions characters were there. Like this character, Arale and Goku, like this category has a bunch of free-to-play characters as well as the heroes characters and these other summonable units as well, like the Super Saiyan Bardox, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta and Broly, like all these characters. 21, like Crossover would definitely be one that, again, you could make a free-to-play team, probably wouldn't be the craziest, but as long as you have a decent selection of the units in the game, like making a team that has summonable units in it and stuff as well, wouldn't be super difficult. Universe 11 is definitely one of those ones. I mean, look how small this category is. And how many of these units are free to play? Casserole. Is that it? That is actually it, right? So I guess it makes sense that this one doesn't have a free to play, doesn't have a Super Battle Road stage, because there's one free to play character. So yeah, it's but I mean, if you have the units, you don't even have to have the new LR Jiren, right? If you have Tech Jiren, you have like Topo, Dispo, whether it's the old AGL one, Margarita has the status effects. STR Jiren has that like chance to stun all the enemies on rotation, so it has actually come in clutch in those older Super Battle Road stages when trying to get no item runs, if that ability does actually go off. So like a Universe 11 stage wouldn't be impossible, but for a lot of people you wouldn't necessarily even be able to make a full team, so you can kind of see why that one doesn't have one. Otherworld Warriors is the final one. Now this one's had some buffs recently. We got the Angel Goku for the Golden Week celebration. This Angel Goku got an EZA. There was the trio of like free-to-play characters that came out for the Goku, Gohan and Goten Day. Was it last year? But obviously only the Goku is on there. Super Strike Pycon, the Grandpa Gohans. I guess when you look at these guys, like the free-to-play options again are very, very limited, but if you do have like the summonable units, you could make a team. Wouldn't be the craziest, but I mean, Tech Gogeta's on there. The physical LR Gogeta that has his EZA needs a Buu Saga Goku, but you've got the Super Saiyan 3 one and the Int one. Like, if you have all the summonable units that are available, again, especially if you are going to rely on using the items for the extra assistance, like, it's not like this stage would be impossible to do, right? But these are the stages that are missing out of the ones that have been skipped over. And then obviously we still have all the ones that come after Power Beyond Super Saiyan that we would expect to see at some point soon, within the next, like, I mean, who knows, right? We can pretty much get one with every sort of celebration now. And then the Extreme Super Battle Roads are just the updated version, like the powered up versions of these. So the big question is, aside from these few stages, what could we see in the future of Super Battle Road to make the stage or make the event a little bit more interesting and a little bit more fun? Because one of the jokes is obviously we got the Extreme Z Awakening and now we have Super Extreme Z Awakening. So after they finish doing the Extreme Super Battle Road, are we going to get Super Extreme Super Battle Road? Which, I mean, it's just a meme. I definitely can't see them doing that. But one thing that we talked about on the podcast last night, shout out to Vilify and Minato. Make sure you guys check out the Slot 1 Super podcast every other Friday if you haven't yet. But we talked about something I'd never really thought about it before, but we were talking about the Kid Buu Red Zone burst mode and how interesting it would be to add burst modes into more events more often. Like now that we're doing ones for the Red Zone, maybe we could see like the Blue Zone ones, maybe even some of the other events as well, like collection of epic battles and stuff like that. And then obviously that's when it dawned on me is, imagine if we could have burst mode for some of the Super Battle Road stages. That would be really interesting in order to, that would be a way, because of those modifiers, that would be a way to power up that event and make it more difficult and make it so that you're not going in and just one-shotting every enemy on the rotation. And then you can be setting these high scores, earning some rewards. Ideally, they would make some of the rewards that are available a little bit better. Because as someone personally doesn't really care about like the OSTs, I like to set high scores in burst mode for fun, and then I just never really do anything with the burst mode coins. But burst mode for Super Battle Road I think would be actually really fun. And of course, because it is one of the modifiers, that it would be a reason actually to do no items attempts, because it's one of the modifiers that you could put on for the burst mode, which I think would be really cool. And then obviously I feel like that would kind of revitalize a little bit of more excitement around Super Battle Road, because there would still be people that would just want to beat the stage, like just get it done, get the rewards, and then obviously if there is a burst mode available, just put on like the minimum to get the score that you need in order to get all the rewards. But especially for somebody like me who's always loved Super Battle Road, like it would be super fun when some of these stages come out to go in with like full modifiers on and see if you could actually get the stage beaten. So I think adding burst mode to Super Battle Road in the future would definitely be really fun. Not sure how they would do it, because obviously the stages used to come out in sets of 10 and now we just get one every now and then. So would they release a burst mode for just one of them? It'd be kind of cool if they released it for, maybe it was part of the anniversary, right? Like let's say we get that Fused Fighters stage because we're getting fusions, and then maybe they drop the Saiyan Saga one as well, just because that takes us up to having the 90 stages. And then in the later part of the anniversary, we get the burst mode option, but it's for like the first 10 stages, like the mono stages. I think that would be really cool. It'd be a lot to do as well, which, you know, people always complain, not normally during the anniversary, but during these celebrations of not having enough stuff to do. And then of course they could do that going forward for all of these new characters, right? So like, you know, Slug we got as a quote unquote filler Dokkan Fest. They could then drop burst mode for like the Terrifying Conquerors Super Battle Road stage, or Space Traveling Warriors, right? Roshi comes out, drop the Dragon Ball Saga one, although obviously, as we say, at the moment that one doesn't actually exist, but drop the Turtle School one, for example. And then, yeah, if they're doing it as part of the anniversary, maybe they could even drop, like, the Fused Fighters one, even though Fused Fighters would be, like, the newer stage that just came out in part 1. That could be a cool thing to then drop in part 2. Maybe they do that first, and then they drop the mono ones in, like, part 3 or something like that as something else to do at the end. Who knows? But I think Burst Mode as an addition to Super Battle Road would be really fun. Because realistically, all they can really do, like, Extreme Super Battle Road is just taking Super Battle Road and turning all the numbers up a little bit. And realistically, that's all they can do, is just up these numbers. And then, you know, what's the metrics? Do they have a certain, like, level of difficulty they can only put these numbers up to in normal Super Battle Road? Because otherwise then they get too close to the stats of, like, an Extreme Super Battle Road stage. Who knows? But like I say, we only have a few more stages left to go. We should get another full set of 10 after this, which will take us up to 100. And then there's still those odd few that maybe will never get a stage, because they are either such a small category or such like a limited category. Maybe they will just never get a stage. Heroes obviously now is very unlikely, because even though we know we're still going to get future Easy A's, we shouldn't really be getting any new content. So chances are we'll never see Heroes or Crossover as a Super Battle Road stage. But let me know what you guys think down below. Tell me your experience of Super Battle Road. If you have any great stories from back when it first came out, or back when you first tried playing it. Maybe you have a story about a stage that you had to try loads of times to beat, and then you finally did, and it was a great accomplishment. Let me know any of your thoughts about Super Battle Road, the past, the present, and the future. What would you like to see them do in order to make this event relevant again? Or do you think they will just leave it as it is, finish out the rest of the categories, and then it will just become an event that obviously like never gets any more stages? I could imagine if they finished every category that was out and then a new category didn't come out for another few months, would they even make a stage for that, especially if they'd already finished a set of 10? Maybe not, who knows? But that's something we will have to wait and see. But let me know all your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.